Hello, I'm Alexandria, aka Zandy, and this is episode 4 of the Ascension to Confidence podcast. I have some notes that I wrote down. I had a difficult conversation with a friend of mine, and it really made me think about how many times I've had difficult conversations and how, because this is something that comes from having confidence, you definitely have to be confident in order to do this. And this, just like with everything else, when you're building your confidence, you get better and better at it the more and more you do it. So this video is supposed to give you some tools on how to initiate difficult conversations, things you can expect, and how to prepare yourself for unpleasant or unlikely outcomes when you do initiate those difficult conversations. So if you're looking for like a list, you don't have a lot of time. One of the first things is you have to be okay with ending things if you never have space to initiate the difficult conversation. Because the truth of the matter is, sometimes the people that you have high hopes for, or you come to a difficult place in your relationship that requires this type of conversation, that's when you realize, oh my goodness, this person really doesn't care about how they treat me.
I understand it now.
This will usually let you know where you stand with somebody. This requires a lot of self-awareness. You have to be very honest with where you are, what you need, how you communicate. Like, do you normally communicate with people in a way that makes them receptive to hearing anything from you, let alone difficult things? It's very important that you're honest with yourself about that, because sometimes people will say, I want to have this conversation. I really want to talk to them about this, but your conversation skills are terrible. You do not watch your tone. You do not leave. Here go the train. Better not miss it. Chugga, 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 chugga. Anyway, it's a Florida thing. So yes, you have to be very self-aware, and also be self-aware of the fact of like when the conversation is over. You ain't got to talk to them all day. You'll realize like, oh, okay, this conversation's done. They're not listening. They're not being open. They're not being receptive. They're not showing up to the conversation maturely. They're not actively engaging in the conversation. You're getting a lot of, or the worst thing that people do while you're talking to them, get up out of there. Have some respect, some dignity. Okay, know yourself. You have to take, okay, so this one is kind of like the first two. You have to take the initiative based on your holistic view and experience of the entire relationship. This is for the Delulu girls and guys. Come to the front of the class, please. This part of the lesson is for you. Yes, you'll think they make me feel like but have you ever experienced that? And not, when I say experience, I'm talking to the Delulus. When you are Delulu and you experience things and interactions, you tend to recall things the way you felt, right? Not the way they actually happened. This is a hard pill to swallow, but before you bring something up like, what are we? Think about what y'all have been first. Not what they tell you, because I want you to become deaf. For like when you're dealing with people, with anybody, you shouldn't hear nothing. What do I see? What's going on? Oh, okay. What has happened? What has my real experience been? Not what they said and they told me and they was thinking and they tried. What actually happened? That's when you know whether you should be having a conversation with them or with yourself first. Because if you have that conversation with yourself first and you're snapping out of Delulu land, you'll realize not only is it unrealistic to expect them to show up at all to the conversation, it's completely unnecessary, because that person probably shouldn't even be in your life, okay? All right. You have to figure out what your intention is when bringing up the conversation. Is your intention to continue a relationship with this person or this business or this friend of yours? Is your intention to strengthen the relationship? Is your intention to air some grievances, to come to a middle ground? Is your intention to end things? Because what can happen is you will go in with an intent, and if you're having a conversation with someone who's manipulative or absent-minded or you're not engaged, well, I wouldn't even say not engaged. They'll be engaged in the conversation, but they will actively be completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Tearing at the foundation of every one of your statements, and then it becomes them trying to convince you that the conversation isn't necessary, that y'all are just fine. It can be grounds for you to be getting gaslit if you do not stay on topic with what the intent is, because you'll have the conversation with somebody and you'll leave it and you'll be like, I didn't accomplish the thing that I came in this conversation to accomplish. So if you struggle with that, in order to confidently reach a resolve that makes you feel settled in your chest, you need to stay on topic. And whenever they get off topic, wrap it right back around. You know what? I hear you. And let's go ahead and table that so we can stay on topic with what the intent for this conversation is. And this conversation that I'm bringing to you is because I've noticed X, Y, and Z, and I need clarity on those things in order to comfortably move forward here. Are you in a place to have that type of conversation with me? Honestly. And the honestly is very important. And a lot of times people will say, yeah, and then be lying all throughout the conversation. Because you can't do this if you're dishonest. And you cannot have this conversation with someone who is dishonest. So that's why you have to take a holistic view of the relationship, snap out of the Lulu, stay on topic, and be okay with never hearing from them again. Because that's probably what's going to happen. So a couple of questions that I recommend you ask yourself in order to prepare for the conversation. And let me just state this, because I have had a history for years in dating. And I would think about something for a very long time and then spring it on the person. I'm ready. I done got all my thoughts organized. I'm completely prepared. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's a quiet evening. I want to talk to you about something. And it'd be like something that requires the other person to be aware that we're about to have a conversation like that. But I was so unaware of how unfair that is to somebody else, because I'm seeing unfairness in their behavior that I'm not communicating. So I'm equating me not being able to prepare for their rudeness or disrespect with them not needing to be prepared for me to check them on it. The whole time I done prepared. Do you see what I'm saying? That's not right. And yes, people know what they be doing, but at the same time, when it comes to having difficult conversations, you don't want to leave no room for them to convince you that you're coming from a malicious place. My cousin, years and years ago, she was dating this guy. And I can't remember if it was the guy's mother or the guy's sister, but she gave her some advice and she said, whenever you have interactions with people, you want to make sure you keep your side of the street clean. Absolutely. And you want to walk away with your side of the street being as clean as possible, because it is so annoying and it is so disheartening, and it can jab at your ability to move forward in different situations and become a more effective communicator, a stronger communicator, a more confident communicator, when every time you try to have a difficult conversation with somebody, you feel like you're being talked over, like you're not being heard, like you're not representing yourself well, like you're not advocating for yourself well, like you're not stating your points or your perspective well enough to be understood, when sometimes people are intentionally misunderstanding you because it is a power move. They're doing it on purpose. And that's why you have to know who you are. You have to be very, very confident when you have these types of, and it's not even from when you have these types of conversations. I'm working on making sure I finish a thought before I start a new one, because this brain, baby, this brain, I like the pony, but okay, see, when the ponytail like this, I'm like, my head. That's why I try to pull some pieces up. Like, girl, give me some dimension. You know I got big head. Give me some. I should have put some more breads in the front, put some hair or something. But but anyway, you You definitely, when dealing with anybody, it's not about having leverage if you're coming from a genuine place. It's about being leveled. Okay? Leverage is for people who are insecure and they need other things to give them some type of upper hand. But when you are leveled and where you're coming from, that is your upper hand. When you know exactly what's going on up in here and you have carefully and honestly and truthfully held yourself accountable, you have given the other person grace, because I'm assuming it's a difficult conversation because it can make somebody uncomfortable. It can make somebody defensive. It could turn into the end of a relationship, a job. You can be asking for a raise. And if you're asking for a raise, you have to be honest about your performance first. So do you see how initiating difficult conversations is not just for relationships, but pretty much every aspect of your life? Okay. And when you do those things, if you are not aware of your contributions, of your kindness, of your power, or any of those things, you will always feel like there's no need and even have those types of conversations, that you just don't have the tools to do it. But you do because you know how you feel. And that's one thing I did right here. You have to pay attention to how you feel in your body. That is going to let you know when it is time to have a conversation. So normally, this is why I be on my bed, because I got to be comfortable. Them little chairs, first of all, I got, like I said last time, I got thighs and stuff. Them little chairs do not account for my hips, baby. This bed do. So you know it's time to have a difficult conversation when every time you're around them, there is an anxious feeling. You have a conversation with them, or you go on a date with them, or you're at the job and you're doing your job and you just feel overextended. You feel taken for granted. You don't feel properly compensated. You don't feel like you're being respected. You don't feel comfortable asking for what you feel like you deserve. That is an indicator that you are gaining confidence, baby. That's what that means. When it is hard for you to sit comfortably in being disrespected and having somebody else try to convince you that you should be comfortable there. Example, there is a young man, somebody's son, who wants my attention, right? And they want my attention on their terms. Any person I've ever dated, that has been the case. People want to deal with you on their terms. Do you know why that is crazy? Because you don't go into a store and tell the people, well, in the store across the street, this how much it costs. So this how much I'm paying. They're going to tell you to get out. And so am I. And so am I. And I'm not engaging. I'm not interacting with that. Okay? So when you start feeling like, I don't like that, I'm not comfortable with this, I actually don't enjoy being around them, but you still have feelings, or you still see some value in being in that room or with those friends, if you value the connection enough to even get to a point to where you feel like you don't just want to walk away without saying anything, but you can't stay if it stays the same, you definitely want to have a conversation with that person. And I've had a lot of difficult conversations, like I said before, back in 2022, I think it was 2021, 2022. Yeah, I broke up with all my friends because I felt like they did not respect me. I felt like they did not value me. I felt like they did not love me the way that I loved them. I had friends who would say hurtful things about me to their other friend groups. And I would know because their friend groups would tell me things about myself that they should not know, because I never really talked to them. So I'm like, how do you know that? I never told you that. I never said that to you. So that means that my friend is discussing me with you. And it's not positive because you feel comfortable disrespecting me. And I'm like, when did I ever do that to my friend? I didn't. I felt like I wasn't being included, and I felt like I wasn't being considered. And consideration is so important to me because I love my people. And when you love people, you carry them with you. Like when you love God, you carry God everywhere you go. Like when you love that money, you keep that phone on you just in case the money call. You got hello, money, y'all, present. You answer that phone for that money. I think about my children all the time, my cousins, my grandparents, my friends, like, and whenever I'm interested in somebody, I think about them. But based off of how people treat you and how you learn to love yourself, your relationship dynamics will inevitably change if you are. Because what was cool to say or to do 10 years ago is not going to fly today. If you have been evaluating yourself, if you've been reassessing your boundaries, if you've been working on how you show up, I used to be so angry, so belligerent, didn't watch my tone, didn't care how I said stuff. I used to call it being brutally honest when I was just rude. I was rude, cutting people off while they're talking, not listening, making assumptions, holding people accountable for the things that I made up in my mind, and I didn't even give them an opportunity to show me no type of different. I was a mess, y'all. A mess. So I'm telling you, as a person who had to think, okay, yeah, I have these people around me, but people keep telling me they're afraid to talk to me about things. Why is that? Why is that? And I had to be honest with myself. Your delivery does matter. And have you noticed I haven't said not one curse word this episode? That's on purpose. Yeah, that's on purpose. I realized in my last couple of episodes that there is a specific person that I want to hear this, and I do not want nobody to hear this. These very important things that I'm trying to share, like my experiences and my advice on how to navigate life, how to gain your confidence, how to show up in these things, because these are the things that we are not taught in school. These are the things that you learn when you live a lot of life. And in this day and age, so many people are sheltered. So many people are being conditioned by the internet, by hearsay, by fake articles, by fake news, by gossip and all type of stuff. There's no real. I ain't gonna go there. I ain't gonna go there because I'm not gonna say it's fake, but I will say people's intentions are very different. Okay. I don't want it to fall and then I don't not fall. I don't want nobody to come across these videos and think, oh no, she ain't that cussing. I'm not listening to you. So no more cuss words. All right. Turn it on and turn it off. I know when to turn it on and turn it off, okay? But I need it to be crystal clear what my intent is. And I want you to be able to listen to this in a room full of children. And the children, even if they're not able to conceptualize what I'm saying, they can realize maybe I heard that somewhere before, even if it just seep into their subconscious. Because you are always going to end up in a situation where you have to have a difficult conversation. And you know what happens when you never do? You never develop deep relationships. Your relationships take on an air of shallowness where you don't truly feel seen. Like, these people know things about you, but they don't truly know you. They don't truly care for you like that. And it's because you're not all the way human enough to them yet. Because you and them, y'all are operating like just floating around each other. And a lot of relationships are like that. You're just floating around each other or running parallel and you just always miss each other. It happens all the time. And people are wondering why their relationships don't really have any value. And it's because you're not being truly honest about how you feel. Me and my best friend had a conversation yesterday, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. We broke up. We have, I don't know if we should keep counting or not, or do we start over? I don't know. Question for the comments. So let's say you have been dating somebody for a long time, you was friends with somebody for a long time, and y'all go a period of time without talking to each other. Do you count all the years together, or do you start over at the new ones? Let me know. So we had been friends since 2011. And then about 3 years ago, I made a decision to stop being her friend. There were a lot of things that happened over the course of our friendship. There was a lot of betrayal that happened. And betrayal is different. It's one of those things that's objective to experience, but by all definitions, it was betrayal. And I felt like I cannot keep subjecting myself to people like this. And I'm wondering why all of my relationships make me feel like nobody respects me, like nobody loves me, like nobody cares about me. And it's because I was holding space for people whose behavior was not, it just did not represent the behavior of people who I'm going to allow to be around me. You cannot be around me and you're talking about me bad to other people, and I know it. That's insane. You cannot be around me and you're hiding things, or you're harboring all of these resentments, or I can't trust you around certain people. That's insane. So I made a decision, and we weren't friends for a few years. And we had a couple of moments where we tried, but it just did not go well. And we had arguments and things were said. And then just, what was it, yesterday, day before yesterday? I think it was yesterday. I could tell that in us rekindling our friendship, there was a lot of apprehension on her part to show up in a way that was consistent with how we've always showed up. Now, I understand how, because we have both grown a lot from the breakup and in life in general, that the dynamics are different. So you don't just, this is another thing, you don't just leave somebody's life and then show up on 10. Calm down, bruh. You got to ease back into it. And that's not for my best friend. That's for somebody's son. Like, no, 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 little boy. Absolutely not. Relax, ease back in there. You know what? I answered the question. You start at 0. Answer my own question. There it is. You start at 0. You just got here. Who are you? As a matter of fact, who is this again? I don't even know who that is. That's how I am. That's it. Thank you. If you did chime in, I answered it. You start at 0. Okay? So because we're starting at 0, or 1, because we're starting at 0 or 1, you definitely have to take into account where the person is now and what's appropriate, because there are new boundaries here. So I noticed that in certain conversations, I'm like, I know how she talks. She don't talk like this. She trying to be politically correct. And I need my best friend to say, a bitty bitty bum bum, like, run it off, girl. Tell me what's going on. Because I actually don't like yes men around me. I don't want nobody enabling me, because I feel like, and I think I've said this before, if you want to be self-aware, you need to be around people who hold you accountable. If you want to stay the same, be around a whole bunch of yes men. And you'll know you're staying the same when things that you want to see changing in your life are not. There you go. So I initiated the conversation, and I had been thinking about it for a while. And I was like, nah. I did that thing that I said that I've been working on, but this was so lighthearted, and I could tell that it was time for us to have the conversation. And she had time. So I was like, okay, she right, and we're talking right now. Okay. So I asked a question, and I was like, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, oh my gosh. That is so crazy that you say that, because, and she said, God's going to be doing something. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's like, I'm laughing because when you have known somebody for as long as we've known each other, for her to think that I didn't notice was actually, it was cute. It was cute. Like, girl, I noticed that. But, she said, God's going to be doing some amazing things this year, and I don't know what he's going to be up to, but that had been on my heart for some time for us to talk about, but I didn't know, like, how to bring it up. And because I know her, I know she has struggled with initiating those types of things, especially with me, because in her history of knowing me, I've been very, like, explosive, right? And that's not easy to initiate a conversation with someone who has a temper, or who you've known to have a temper, or who you know can dominate a conversation and talk over you, keep going, not leave space for you to have anything to say in the conversation. That's not a good feeling, right? That's why I had to learn how to dial that back. And when we had that conversation, there was a lot of things that she needed clarity on. And at some points in the conversation, I was like, this is going to be uncomfortable for her to hear, because it may not be the answer that she wants. But my goal in this interaction is for us to be even closer, for us to have an even deeper understanding. And I think that you create an environment and cultivate an environment of like genuine trust and care, that just soils the ground for beautiful things to grow, for more comfortability, for more vulnerability, for more closeness, for more understanding to happen, for more forgiveness to happen when you genuinely show up to have the conversation. And you genuinely show up and you just let your defenses down. But that's because I know who my friend is, right? And we had the conversation. I answered the questions. I gave her clarity. She answered some of my questions. And I explained things that I unintentionally had not revealed to her, as far as my thought process, or I explained those things to her in a way to where, not to absolve myself of any responsibility, but to give her context on where that came from. And I apologized where I felt like it was necessary to apologize. Now, here's the thing. If you lack self-awareness, it's going to be very hard for you to show up in conversations that you initiate and realize that it is possible for you to have to apologize for your part in situations where you felt like you were wrong. Or not wrong, but where you felt like you were wronged. I know you're not talking. You better be quiet. You had a salad, you had a sandwich, and you had two carne asada tacos. I only went up there and asked for one, but they gave me two salsa and chips. And I didn't eat the chip because I'm doing my 75 hard, but I did lick it. I licked it because it was seasoned. And I have never had seasoned tortilla chips. Don't y'all know them people had the nerve to put taco seasoning? Why I get the best tortilla chip that I could have probably ever had when I'm not supposed to be eating no fried foods. I said, oh, that's taco season. And the salsa was good. And they gave me the salsa verde. I love that salsa verde. I thought it was guacamole at first. I didn't even realize it was Tuesday. I'm out here walking, getting my steps in. And I'm like, let me go to Publix and get a little snack, because my car broke down on me, child. My car acting up. Then some said, well, you drive by this taco place all the time. You should go and get you a taco. Life is short. Just get one. They don't fry it. You know, the carne asada is cooked on a skillet. That's whole ingredients. You can have that. Just one taco. They put two. And boy, when I tell you them taco, boy, ooh. Excuse me, I tasted in my burp. It's still up there too. It's still Tuesday. I might go back and get no. But if I just get one more, it's still a snack. And my stomach said she want one. Yeah, that taco was so freaking good. They were so good. They put a little lime. The only thing is, the lime was a little too hard. You know, when the lime too hard or it's too dry, you can't get any juice out the lime. I'm squeezing. Ain't nothing coming out. I'm like, man, I'm trying to rake it and I'm getting little lime pieces. I'm like, you might as well just use a knife, cut the lime up, put it on top after all that. But anyway, yeah, you got to know. How did I end up talking about that taco? I do not even know how I ended up on what the day is. Oh, I thought it was Wednesday. So when I went up there, I didn't realize I was going to get a deal on the taco. What was I talking about? I hope you found this episode helpful. even though I'm laughing, it's very serious stuff we're talking about here. It is because in any relationship that you have, when it is growing, hopefully, or not, you will need to have a conversation. And a lot of people are just too afraid to do it. And that fear is not doing anything but creating more and more dysfunction. Because here's the thing. When you do not work on something, you're not developing it. You're not fine-tuning it. So it's not getting better. So by avoiding the conversation, that's where I was trying to go. By avoiding the conversation, you stunt your ability to be better at doing it at all. So if you don't do anything but just considerate practice in all of your relationships, do your best. And people do not want to do that. They will make you feel like you're asking for too much. It's never the right time to ask. You shouldn't ask at all. And that's another reason why people never want to have those conversations. That is all I have to say on the subject. I hope this made you feel just a little bit more confident. And even if you still struggle after this video, I hope there were things inside of it that gave you just a little bit more confidence. It made you feel a little bit more validated. Maybe it made you feel like I'm not crazy. I knew that was an indicator that it was time for me to talk to him about something, or that is exactly how I feel. And here's the thing. You can listen to this video. You can listen to all my pointers that I done wrote down about, are you comfortable with them? Do they have a receptive energy? You have to remember your intention. But if all it does is just exist in your brain and you do not get in the field and initiate these conversations, all you're going to have is a whole bunch of useless knowledge. And it's only useless because you're not using it. This is not something that you just put in your brain just to have when you want to start an argument with somebody and you want to let them know that you know what you're supposed to be doing in a good conversation with somebody, or you know how they're supposed to be behaving when you're trying to have a conversation with them, but you're not doing your part. You're not showing up authentically. You're not actually asking yourself these questions. You're not being introspective. This is not intended to be a weapon. It is intended to be a tool. Thank you so much for watching episode 4 of what I'm hoping will become your favorite podcast soon, the Ascension to Confidence podcast. I am your only host for now, Alexandria, aka Zandy, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.